Alright guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of Eldest Born, a Three Brothers podcast. Now we are here today celebrating another special occasion in the world of Doctor Who. Just this past weekend, the first of three 60th anniversary specials aired, the first one being called The Star Beast. Now, I am very excited to talk about Doctor Who this month, and it being the 60th anniversary, there's going to be a lot of content coming out, specifically the three specials that we will be reviewing on this channel. Before we jump into talking about the first episode, I just want to look back at the 14th Doctor's regeneration and the return of David Tennant in the role of the Doctor. Let's take a look at that clip real quick.
I know these teeth. What? What? What?
I love that. Now, obviously, this was a big shock for the fans when David Tennant reprised his role after Jodie Whittaker's lackluster performance as the 13th Doctor. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen a Doctor regenerate into different clothing. If you notice, the regeneration energy engulfed her entire body, and her clothing changed into that of David Tennant's iconic suit and jacket. Now, obviously, I think they did this purely for shock value, because what is David Tennant as the Doctor without his iconic outfit? Now, I was actually lucky enough to meet David Tennant this year at New York Comic Con, and I actually got a picture with him, as you can see here. He personalized the signature, and it says, "To Michael, I don't want you to go," which is a reference to his classic exit line as the 10th Doctor, where he says,
I don't want to go.
Now, before the 14th Doctor makes his debut in the 60th anniversary special, The Star Beast, he actually appears in two other forms of media that take place chronologically prior to the 60th anniversary. The first one is a comic book entitled Liberation of the Daleks. Now, I haven't read this yet, but I'm sure it's an interesting read. It is actually the first adventure starring the 14th Doctor in any form of media. Following that, they had a charity event for the Children in Need Fund, and the 14th Doctor made an appearance in a 5-minute skit involving the genesis of the Daleks. Let's watch that just for fun.
Mr. Castavillian, I take it.
Yes, Davros. An honor to work for you, sir.
Then allow me to show you the future of our beloved Khaled race. Behold, my Mark III travel machine. The Khaled race to mutate, but within this casing we can evolve, we can start anew, we can become stronger than ever.
We will become the supreme race in the universe!
Observe a bonded polycarbide shell, a ruby ray blaster, and a multi-dexterous claw capable of annihilating 1,000,000 fowls. My ultimate masterpiece of design.
Yes, I did some research on the name, sir. Since we're called Khaleds, I thought our future selves could be an anagram of Khaled. Like Lekad.
No.
Adlek.
No.
Clade.
No.
Edlaka.
No.
Davros, I need your confirmation to begin the next bombardment, sir.
One moment, and touch nothing. Is that understood?
Yes, sir. Edlaka.
Hello. Just passing by, because I got a bit lost. It's funny. 60 minutes ago, I was this really brilliant woman. And now I've got this old face back again. I mean, why? Why? I ask of you, my brand new friend. Why? You're a bit of a puzzle. Oh. I'm sorry.
No.
I am so sorry. I think I broke this multi-claw adaptable. What is it? Oh. That's a Dalek.
Oh. Good word. Dalek. Yes, that's it.
I'm lucky I wasn't exterminated.
Exterminated? Yes. But yes. Good word. Great.
Wait a minute. Do you mean this is the genesis of the Daleks?
Oh, this is the stuff. Thank you. Thank you.
No, stop it. Look, I was never ever here. Never. The timelines of the canon are rupturing. I'm just gonna go, and you're not gonna say a word, okay?
No, but you broke the multi-claw adaptable thingy-majig.
Oh, yeah. Right. Hold on.
Never here.
Now, where were we, Mr. Cassivillian? Ah, the splendid design of my secondary.
So I found that clip really interesting only because it's the first time that we see Davros, a beloved villain of Doctor Who, in a more human form. As many of us Doctor Who fans know, we see him throughout the series wheelchair bound and in a deformed state after he creates the Dalek. And the genesis of the Daleks is actually an episode from classic Doctor Who where Tom Baker's fourth Doctor encounters Davros as he creates the Dalek race, who go on to be some of the Doctor's most formidable alien opponents. And it's just a really funny clip. It lends a lot of comic relief, seeing as the 14th Doctor is the reason for why the Daleks have their classic plunger-like appendage on one side. And whoever that assistant is, Mr. Castivillian, he laughably gets the name Dalek from the 14th Doctor in reaction to the Doctor's surprise when running into this Dalek, which I think is so funny. So yeah, I just wanted to preface my review of the Star Beast with these two clips just to kind of lead up to what we have in store for us with David Tennant's return as the 14th Doctor. So let's jump right into the review. Now, a lot of people on the internet have had negative opinions about this special, but before we get into that, I want to give a quick synopsis of the storyline behind this first episode entitled The Star Beast. Now, this episode is actually an adaptation of an old comic strip from Doctor Who magazine. Now, Doctor Who magazine has been printed for many years, going all the way back to the 70s and 80s, and I actually have an issue right here, and it shows some of the comic strips that they used to print. This issue is actually from 1984, and it depicts the first 5 Doctors on the cover, which I think is really cool. And Basically, they would serialize these comic strips in each issue of Doctor Who magazine. And eventually, the Star Beast storyline got picked up by Marvel Comics and was reprinted a few times in a more condensed version. It went from being in multiple magazines to a 2-part comic series. Now, I actually have a printed version of the original Star Beast comic book right here, and I'm going to be using it for reference as I talk about the storyline of this episode. So let's jump right into it. The 60th anniversary special, The Star Beast, starts out with a kind of lackluster monologue, in my opinion, by David Tennant and Catherine Tate playing Donna Noble. And David Tennant's 14th Doctor starts the episode by talking about how him and Donna used to travel together as best friends, and how she, as the Dr. Donna, a human Time Lord hybrid, needed to have her memory wiped after the events of the End of Time, where all of the 10th Doctor's companions came together to fight the Daleks and Davros in a fitting finale for what would be an episode where we said goodbye to almost all of the 10th Doctor's companions. Now, the episode wastes no time in jumping right in as the 14th Doctor lands on Earth in the TARDIS and exits to find a sort of street fair going on in London. Now, he immediately runs into Donna Noble, as he had just got finished saying in his monologue that if she ever remembers him, she would surely die. Now, I thought the pacing around this was a little too quick. I was really looking forward to some suspense in whether or not the Doctor and Donna would eventually meet up in this episode, kind of reminiscent of the way they reunited in Partners in Crime, episode 1 of season 4 of Doctor Who. Despite all that, we are introduced to a character named Rose, who is Donna Noble's transgendered daughter. More on that later. So immediately after meeting these two characters, a spaceship flying over London crash lands in the distance. And of course, Donna Noble misses it because that's just part of her character. To everyone's surprise, she always misses all the alien events that go on around her. Now, as the Doctor goes to investigate the crash, we are quickly introduced to Donna Noble's husband, who is a cab driver, and he tells a little bit about the backstory of their financial situation, as he had been the winner of the lottery, winning about £160 million, and we find out that Donna gave all the money away, and now the family is struggling to meet ends meet. So Donna's husband drives the 14th Doctor to the crash site. Now, the scene cuts away to Donna and her mother in their house as they get home from the market. Now, her and her mother talk about how she misses her old memories, which apparently she's aware of losing, but she just feels kind of like she had something beautiful and can never get it back. And obviously, about hearing about the spaceship crash landing in London from Rose, the grandmother is concerned that Donna may in fact remember the adventures she used to have with the Doctor based on the alien-related events that are happening. Now, in the back of Donna's house, Rose, taking out the trash, runs into a character named Fudge. Fudge is a young boy who is very excited about a spaceship landing in the park near their house. Rose is surprised to hear that. Fudge is determined to bring her to the crashed site of a smaller vessel. Now, it's obvious that it's some sort of escape pod and that something of extraterrestrial nature is now roaming loose in their area. As Rose runs back to the house to get her phone, she quickly runs into a mysterious, small, fur-covered alien who introduces itself as the Meep. Now, as the Meep admits to Rose that it is being hunted by other aliens who are trying to kill it, she immediately jumps into action and brings it home to her back shed, where she seems to make stuffed animals in an attempt to raise money to help her parents financially. And the Meep hides amongst the stuffed animals as Donna bursts in, asking Rose to put out the bins for the trash men. Now, the Meep doesn't stay hidden for long because Donna notices it and thinks it's one of Rose's newest creations from her stuffed animal business, and proceeds to describe it as the most realistic stuffed toy she has made to date. And then, after seeing the Meep blink, she immediately finds out that it is truly a living, breathing creature. And in order to see if it will react, she proceeds to poke it in the eye, which immediately elicits a response from the Meep, and Donna reacts abruptly in shock that there's an alien in her backyard. Now, at the Ironworks factory where the spaceship crash landed, a team of unit soldiers proceeds to break open the vessel and encounter a psychedelic glowing aura, which proceeds to possess them and causes them to become mind-control zombies. the 14th Doctor quickly meets the new scientific advisor to UNIT, who happens to be a wheelchair-bound woman who immediately recognizes him as the Doctor and initiates a conversation with him, inquiring why he is hiding in the shadows instead of introducing himself to the UNIT soldiers who are on site at the crash. Now, he says that he doesn't want to get too involved, and he's worried that something comparable to destiny is heading towards Donna Noble based on the uncanny series of events that led him to run into her earlier in the episode. Now, following the Doctor's interaction with the scientific advisor woman in the wheelchair, he immediately gets on a truck headed towards the location where the Meep's vessel crash landed. And upon disembarking, he hears Donna Noble screaming in her house, which causes him to run over and investigate what the commotion is. Now, Donna is still reeling from the fact that she just came in contact with a real-life alien that her daughter was hiding in her backyard. The Doctor, knocking on the door, immediately lets himself in using his sonic screwdriver and encounters somewhat of resistance from Donna's mother, who knows that if Donna ever remembers the Doctor, she will surely die. Now, quickly thereafter, the Doctor proceeds to tend to the Meep's injuries and asks why it is being hunted, and the story that it gives is that it is part of a species that is hunted for its fur. Everyone in the room is quick to believe the Meep as it gives its sob story about why it's on the run. And immediately after, there's a knock on the door, and the UNIT soldiers who are being mind controlled ask to search the house. And the Doctor immediately sees through their ruse and denies them entry, which prompts an explosion in the back of the house where a group of alien bug-like warriors called the Wrath proceed to open fire through the hallway of the house and are met with return fire from the UNIT soldiers at the front door. This causes an all-out firefight through Donna's house, in which the Doctor, using a new feature of his sonic screwdriver, creates force fields and puts them in place in the hallway to protect the family as they move to the stairs and head up to attempt an escape through their attic into the attics of the neighboring residents. The Doctor, Donna, and everyone else proceed to jump in her husband's taxi cab and zoom off to safety when the Doctor realizes something that sheds new light on the story that the Meep had told them. Now, they park the cab in an abandoned parking garage, and the Doctor proceeds to do something very out of character for this incarnation. Because, personally, I thought it was a little goofy when I first saw it. It was very reminiscent of the 11th Doctor's character. The Doctor proceeds to pull out an English judge's wig and invokes the Shadow Proclamation as he brings to light the truth about the Meep. He intercepts a teleport with two Wrath warriors and proceeds to ask them why they are hunting the Meep. They tell the Doctor that the Meep is part of a race that was corrupted by something called the psychedelic sun, and in fact his entire race became evil and started rampaging across the galaxy. Now the Meep, knowing that the jig is up at this point, proceeds to pull out a blaster and kill both Wrath warriors. He then takes the Doctor, Donna, and the whole family hostage and forces them to drive to the crash site at the Ironworks facility. Now at the crash site, we find out that the rocket ship, which didn't quite crash as much as it did park in the Ironworks facility, is being repaired by a bunch of mind-controlled UNIT soldiers who are being led by the Meep. The Doctor and Donna's family are then saved by the scientific advisor in the wheelchair. And she does so by shooting the mind-controlled UNIT soldiers with tranquilizer darts that she keeps hidden in her wheelchair, which is very far-fetched, I know. And when the Doctor asks her how she has weapons in her wheelchair, she replies by saying, "We all do," which kind of makes the whole thing even more ridiculous if you ask me. Now, as Donna and her family escape in one direction, the wheelchair advisor proceeds to shoot rockets from her chair, blowing up a nearby wall and leading the Doctor through to the catwalk that gives him access to the inside of the spaceship. Now Donna, starting to remember what it feels like to adventure with the Doctor, proceeds to tell her family to run far away because she needs to help the Doctor to save London. Now, it was established already that the spaceship that the Meep is trying to repair is driven by something called a dagger drive, which works by plunging some sort of large knife-like syringe into the Earth and extracting energy in order to power the ship, which will inevitably cause cracks in the Earth's crust and leave a hole in the ground the size of London City itself, which the Doctor is eagerly trying to thwart. It's at this point Donna enters the shuttle and the doors lock behind them. The doctor is frantically trying to stop the countdown of the ship's departure, and he proceeds to run around the room pressing various buttons in which he needs to cause the ship to cancel its launch. And when the room is separated by a large piece of glass, which prevents the doctor from finishing the sequence of switches and buttons that he needs to cancel the launch, he's forced to reactivate Donna's memories through a series of code words so that she can be smart enough to help him save London. This whole thing ends with Donna remembering their time together, becoming the Dr. Donna once again as she holds the memories and the mind of a Time Lord within her. They proceed to save the day by canceling the launch of the spaceship, and as they are both about to meet their end at the hands of the brainwashed unit soldiers, Rose, with miraculous new knowledge of alien technology, is able to cancel out the mind control and free all the unit soldiers from the grasp of the Meep. This is when the Doctor realizes that the human Time Lord meta-crisis that caused Donna to need her memories wiped was partially passed down to Rose upon giving birth, and now was no longer causing her to die from holding the mind of a Time Lord inside of a human brain. With the Meep's plans thwarted and it being arrested by the Wrath Warriors, the Doctor asks Donna and Rose how they intend to get rid of the meta-crisis inside them, and they reply by saying they're just gonna let it go, which I thought was very disappointing as a solution for the issue, because all the way back in 2008, when we first were introduced to Donna Noble as the Dr. Donna and we saw her memories wipe, it seemed to be a much bigger, unavoidable problem than just letting it go. But I'll touch on why they did this in a second. So the episode ends happily with the whole family reunited and the day is saved. And the Doctor and Donna, deciding to go visit her grandfather Wilfred, jump in the TARDIS and encounter the brand new interior that the TARDIS has updated itself to, which in my opinion looked absolutely gorgeous. It's huge. The Doctor excitingly runs around the entire place, giving us a full panoramic view of the set. And they both exchange in witty dialogue as they explore the new gizmos and gadgets on the center console. And right when you thought the episode was going to end with a heartfelt reunion with Wilfred, Donna proceeds to spill coffee on the console, igniting it into flames and causing a unintended malfunction, which sends the TARDIS time traveling to an undisclosed location, and the episode ends. Alright guys, I know that was a long-winded summary of the episode, but here's my honest opinion of what I thought of this. So, like many people on the internet, I also agree that this episode was utterly ruined by the woke agenda. All the emphasis on Rose Noble as a transgendered woman really took away from the episode as a whole. And the scene where the Doctor is patching up the Meep before they realize that the Meep is evil, we find that the Doctor addresses the Meep as a he, and Rose proceeds to correct him and asks why he assumed the Meep's pronoun. The Meep then goes on to say that its chosen pronouns are the Meep, meaning the definite article. And the Doctor says, "Oh, I do that too." Now, this whole interaction was so unnecessary, so ridiculous, and it really took away from the seriousness that the episode had, if any. Now, the episode proceeds to go even further towards the end when the Doctor and Donna are saved by Rose, whose metacrisis activated when she heard the same activation phrase that was used to give Donna back her memories. Now, this whole thing about Rose being a non-binary individual who identifies as neither male or female was just so ridiculous, and as a plot point was so unnecessary, and it really ruined the ending of the episode for me and a lot of others. Basically, the whole human Time Lord meta-crisis issue was quickly resolved when Rose and Donna told the Doctor that a male-presenting Time Lord could never understand the concept of just letting things go, and they proceeded to magically release the meta-crisis from their body, which floated away like fairy dust in the air. I can't tell you how ridiculous this was. Now, not to mention the rocket-shooting wheelchair advisor lady was sitting right next to them, smiling the entire time because of all the girl power that was going on. And the fact that she can shoot rockets out of her chair made her whole character absolutely laughable, if it wasn't already. Now, I'm all for inclusion and having, I don't know, disabled people represented in media, but the fact that they had to make her some sort of Inspector Gadget was so far-fetched, even for Doctor Who's standards, that it really just made this episode more disappointing. Now, all of that being said, I honestly wasn't surprised by the woke agenda that was present in this episode, especially especially since Doctor Who is now being distributed by Disney. And the only stipulation Disney had in partnering with the BBC on this distribution venture was that it continues to push the diversity and inclusion agenda in all of its future episodes, including the casting of the Doctor and his companions, which just goes to show you that there's probably going to be way more disappointment in the future as the series of Doctor Who progresses into this new era. Funny enough, I did watch this episode a couple more times, and I had the brilliant idea of putting it into my video editing software, and anytime they say something incredibly woke, which includes man bashing, affirming transgendered people, asking about pronouns, I was able to edit the audio so that it just bleeped all that out, which upon another watch through made the episode a lot more enjoyable for me. And that being said, I did not dislike the episode as a whole. Now, this new Russell T Davies Disney era of Doctor Who comes with some incredible benefit, the biggest one being production value. I thought the episode as a whole had incredible lighting, sound effects, visual effects, and set design. The costume design, in my opinion, was also really good, especially for the Meep and the Wrath Warriors. If that's what we have to look forward to for the rest of this series going forward, I am very excited for that, even though we know that the writing is going to be heavily influenced by the woke agenda. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the Doctor's new sonic screwdriver and the new functionality that it includes, where he can draw laser constructs in midair, such as his force fields, and a touchscreen that he uses to analyze the crashed ship at the Ironworks facility, which I thought was really cool. Additionally, the new interior of the TARDIS is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. It's probably my second favorite, if not tied for my first favorite, alongside the 12th Doctor's TARDIS interior, and I can't wait to see it in action in future episodes. Now, I want to jump into a little bit of a compare and contrast between the original Star Beast comic strip and this episode of Doctor Who, because the 14th Doctor's adventure in this special obviously took its inspiration from the 4th Doctor's adventure in the comic strip, and I want to reference my printed copy so that we can go through and see what the similarities and differences were between the original story and the 60th anniversary special. So, obviously, the comic starts off very similarly, but without the presence of Donna Noble as a character and her backstory. It starts off just with the crash landing of the Wrath ship. We are immediately introduced to the ship's landing via a newscaster. She's talking about how authorities are investigating the crash landing of a UFO at the Ironworks facility. Cut forward to 2 high school age children. One of them's name is Fudge and the other's name is Sharon. Now, Sharon is a African American woman, probably 16 or 17, and her character, as well as Fudge, are the main companions of the Doctor in this story. Now, Sharon becomes the first African American companion of the Doctor in all of media at this point, because this comic was released in the 80s. Now, the role that Sharon and Fudge play throughout the episode is shared by Donna Noble and her daughter Rose in the live action version. A lot of different dialogue that's said in the comic is said by Donna, and a lot of the action sequences that are performed by Sharon and Fudge are performed by Donna and Rose. Now, Fudge is a young high school age blonde male in the comic strip, where we saw him in a very different role in the live action as a young nerdy looking child who interacts with Rose at the beginning of the episode, but really has no more involvement from there. Now, in the comic, both Fudge and Sharon come across the Meep hiding in a neighbor's shed, and they begin to tend to his wounds as they question what his origins are. Then we fast forward to the Wrath Warriors in their spaceship above Earth, and they are immediately docked by the TARDIS, and out stumbles the 4th Doctor in a Mexican sombrero, followed by K9, and he runs into one of the Wrath Warriors and proceeds to pull and twist its eyeball, thinking that it's a light switch. Now, there's a very similar interaction that Donna gets herself into with the Meep when she first realizes it to be a living creature. She pokes it in the eye. And in the same spirit, the Doctor pokes one of the Wrath Warriors in the eye. Now, in this comic strip, the Wrath Warriors proceed to sedate the Doctor using their weird tongues that happen to have finger-like appendages to them. They put the Doctor on an operating table, and they implant him with a bomb. Now, they are under the false impression that the Doctor is an accomplice of the Meep that they are hunting. Therefore, putting a bomb inside of him will help them to track down the Meep and blow it up once the Doctor rendezvous with the alien. So we flash forward to Fudge and Sharon escorting the Meep back to Fudge's house, where they lay him down in Fudge's bedroom so he can rest up as they go to investigate the crash site of the spaceship at the Ironworks facility. The Doctor then proceeds to wake up on the Wrath Warrior's ship after being released from surgery and immediately jumps into his TARDIS hoping to escape. He then has the bright idea to investigate what's going on down on Earth because encountering a ship of this size in orbit around the Earth is very unusual, and he immediately finds out by intercepting the television broadcast of the newscaster that there was a UFO that crash landed in London, and he goes down to investigate, followed closely behind by a group of Wrath Warriors. Sharon and Fudge then arrive at the crash site and they proceed to look into how the ship works. They come in contact with the group of Wrath Warriors that follow the Doctor down to Earth and proceed to escape with the help of the Fourth Doctor, who uses the automatic defense system on the crash ship to combat the Wrath Warriors and facilitate his and his new companions' escape. Fudge and Sharon escort the Doctor back to his house, where they find out that Fudge's mother has found the Meep and is now interacting with it as if it's some sort of pet that Fudge had got at the pet shop. The Doctor, realizing that there's something wrong with his stomach, infers that he must have been implanted with a bomb, because, that's the logical conclusion to come to. And he proceeds to wrap himself in tin from Fudge's roof in an attempt to block the signal of a detonator that could cause the bomb to go off at any moment. And he's right. The Wrath Warriors who have followed them home intended to detonate the bomb inside the Doctor, and he has in fact thwarted their plan. Then he and his new companions, including the Meep and Fudge's mom, go inside to engage in a conversation and find out the origins of the Meep and his purpose for being on Earth. Now, this is the beginning to a comparable scene, the one where Donna and her family are in the house interacting with the 14th Doctor, right before the brainwashed unit soldiers and the Wrath Warriors attack the house. Unlike the live-action version of the Star Beast, in the comic strip, we find out pretty early that the Meep is evil, because we can hear his inner dialogue talking about the Doctor and how he wants to kill Sharon, Fudge, and everyone else. Now, unlike the live action, there are no brainwashed unit soldiers in this scene, so the only people who attack the house are the Wrath Warriors. Now, they attack from the backyard, just like in the live action, and they do so by throwing a grenade at the house, which is similar to the way they blew up the back wall of Donna's house and began opening fire. In this comic, they do the same thing. The Meep immediately pulls out his blaster and proceeds to shoot one of the Wrath Warriors, killing it. And the Doctor, surprised by this exchange, reprimands him for using lethal force. Then the Meep, Sharon, and the Doctor flee the house and seek refuge on a double-decker red bus, which the Doctor says is the first time he's ever escaped an alien attack on a 5A bus before. Now the Meep, using the Doctor's iconically long scarf as a leash, poses as his pet and gets on the bus as they escape the Wrath Warriors. Now, something relevant to note is that the Doctor and Sharon escape from the Wrath Warriors on a red bus instead of the taxi cab that the 14th Doctor, Donna Noble, and her family escaped in, which I just thought was funny because they both have a very similar escape route from the attack on the house, but one is a cab and one is a double-decker bus. The Doctor then says that he has to go back to the house in order to save Mrs. Higgins, Fudge's mom, and Fudge from the Wrath Warriors as they've been taken hostage during the attack. Sharon and the Meep proceed to the Ironworks facility to meet up with unit soldiers who they hope can help protect the Meep from the Wrath Warriors. Upon going back to the house and meeting the Wrath Warriors, the Doctor shows a form of identification or credentials to them so that they will trust him enough not to open fire again. He proceeds to interview them about their reasons for hunting the Meep. Now, their explanation for why they're hunting the Meep is very different from the origin story that the Meep told the 14th Doctor in the live action and the 4th Doctor in the comic. Now, as you remember, the Meep said that he was being hunted for his fur by the Wrath Warriors, but that is not true. We find out that the Wrath Warriors are a form of police unit that are after a dangerous enemy fugitive. They go on to explain that the Meep race was a peaceful one that lived in harmony on their planet before they came in contact with a malevolent force called the Black Sun, which corrupted the whole of Meep kind, causing them all to turn evil and embark on a bloodthirsty crusade across the galaxy, enslaving and killing many other different planetary races. Now, all the Meep at this time were led by one singular leader, Beep the Meep. Now, I know this is a very funny name. The comic strip continues to refer to the Meep as Beep the Meep from now on. Now, in the live action, there's only one time where the Meep refers to himself as Beep. It's right after he's discovered as being evil during the trial that's held by the 14th Doctor. And what he says exactly is, "I am the Beep of all the Meeps," which happens very quickly within the scene. You easily could miss it. So in the comic, we find out that the Wrath Warriors are actually the good guys, and that Beep the Meep is evil, as he is in the live action. And now the Doctor is compelled to go after him and Sharon at the Ironworks facility, as he fears for Sharon's life. And rightfully so, because Sharon, as well as a number of unit soldiers at the Ironworks facility, have now been taken over using mind control from the black rays emanating from the Meep's ship. Now, these black rays find their origins in the Black Sun, the same corrupting influence that the Meep and his fellow Meeplings, as I call them, were turned evil by. Now, as I said, the Meep proceeds to mind control Sharon and the unit soldiers and forces them to repair the broken ship. As the Doctor and his newly befriended Wrath soldiers arrive at the Ironworks facility to rescue Sharon and stop Beep the Meep, they encounter the mind-controlled workers and Sharon, and the Doctor draws Sharon near to himself by throwing a paper airplane at her. She then proceeds to attack the Doctor because she is being mind-controlled by Beep the Meep. The Doctor then is able to knock some sense into her as they fall from one elevated platform down to a lower platform where she must hit her head or something, because she wakes up from her mind control and is told by the Doctor that Beep the Meep is not what he said he was. He is in fact evil, and this is quickly made evident when Beep the Meep turns his blaster upon Sharon and tries to shoot her directly between the eyes, as he says. Now, the Doctor and Sharon are able to trip Beep the Meep up as he sits upon his thripod, which is a throne and a tripod combination. They finally enter the Meep's ship, which he had the workers repairing, and is almost ready for launch. As they proceed to sabotage the inner workings of the Meep ship, the Doctor and Sharon are thwarted in their efforts, and the Meep takes the Doctor as his hostage. Now, this is kind of similar to the live action, because the Meep in the live action did in fact have the Doctor and Donna's family as his hostages, up until the point where the wheelchair advisor helped them to escape. And in the same manner as the Doctor entered the cockpit of Beep the Meep's ship, Donna and the 14th Doctor have their interaction trying to sabotage the Meep's ship right before she regains her memories in order to help him complete his mission. In this rendition of the Star Beast, though, the Meep ship is powered by a Black Sun drive instead of a dagger drive. Now, the way this Black Sun drive works is it basically creates a black hole wherever it is launching from, which destroys the surrounding areas behind the ship. And Beep the Meep proceeds to activate this warp drive with the Doctor in its path. And just as the Doctor is about to be destroyed by the black hole that ensues, two of the Wrath Warriors set him free from his restraints, and they proceed to escape into the TARDIS, taking all the brainwashed members of UNIT and the Steelworkers with them to safety. Now, thankfully, whatever the Doctor was doing in Beep the Meep's ship worked, and the warp drive that he hoped would take him far across the galaxy only landed him just outside of Earth's orbit. So the Doctor and the Wrath Warriors take the TARDIS and land on the Meep's ship, surprising him, inevitably apprehending him and saving Sharon. Beep the Meep proceeds to beg for his freedom, exclaiming that they've caught the wrong Meep. And by the end of this comic strip, with everything wrapped up, Sharon becomes the newest companion of the 4th Doctor, joining him on the TARDIS. Now, I'm sure many of you guys realize some of the similarities between the live-action Star Beast and the comic strip as I was going through the summary. I just want to point out, at the end of the live-action Star Beast, instead of the Black Sun drive activating, the dagger drive does activate, but is immediately reversed by the Doctor and Donna as they save the day. The Meep is apprehended by the Wrath Warriors, but then says something ominous to the 14th Doctor, which is, "Wait till I tell the boss." That implies that there's a greater enemy coming in the next two 60th anniversary specials for the 14th Doctor to encounter. Now, in the comic strip, I found out through a little bit of research that Beep the Meep does come back in a sequel to Star Beast called Star Beast 2. And although I don't think they're going to cover it in the 60th anniversary specials coming up, I look forward to reading that eventually. Now, I'm sure many of you are like me and want to experience the original story of the Star Beast as told by the comic strip. But sometimes these old comics can be hard to get a hold of. Well, Big Finish Productions actually came up with a solution for that, and in 2019, they made an audiobook rendition of The Star Beast, where it's a dramatized version acted out by Tom Baker himself, the famous actor who played the Fourth Doctor on television. Now, I recently did something I'm very proud of. I took the audio version and I animated it using the panels from the comic strip. It kind of creates a cinematic version of the comic that's embellished by the extended audio. So I'm thinking about posting it on YouTube and Instagram following this video so you guys can enjoy the original Star Beast storyline if you didn't already see the 60th anniversary special, or if you just didn't enjoy the special given all the woke nonsense that the BBC and Disney have included in it. So stay tuned for that. Alright guys, this has been an awesome episode of Eldest Born. I've really enjoyed filming this. Talking about Doctor Who is one of my favorite things in the world because it is my favorite show. And I just have so much fun watching the show throughout all its eras and all forms of media that it's produced in, including the comics, television, audio productions, and even some video games. So I hope you stay tuned to my channel for more reviews as we proceed through the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. The next episode that's coming out this weekend is called The Wild Blue Yonder. I can't wait to see what that's about, and I really hope they include some returning cast members from the old series in the next 2 episodes. That would be really awesome. So this has been Eldest Born, a Three Brothers podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at 3brothers_podcast and 3brothers_eldestborn, as well as on TikTok at 3brothers_podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this Doctor Who content. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.